Hi, Kristin. How are you?
Good, Shannon. How are you?
Good. So you and I, actually, Joanna from our team introduced us to this article about 24 questions to ask your real estate agent. And it's kind of interesting. So you and I thought maybe we'd go over it together and touch on each question because there's always
Absolutely.
things that are missing in articles and maybe other perspectives that people haven't thought about. So do you want to go through them with me?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question they have, top questions to ask your real estate agent who you're thinking about working with is, can I see your real estate license? Nobody's ever asked me this.
No one's ever asked me that either.
Isn't that interesting? And I assume now that it's written down, it's a pretty valid question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I would never feel offended if somebody asked me that question. I think that's actually pretty good question, and it's kind of funny. But I mean, when we're signing all the documentation, we do go through the fact that we are licensed and insured and legally allowed to trade real estate in our province. So, I mean, we do cover that. But that's an interesting question, and definitely one that's not a bad question to
Yeah.
ask.
And then the second one was, and no one's ever asked me this either, can you pass along a list of referrals?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like a lot of our business does come from referrals, and that's a great way to get introduced to a real estate agent, a real estate professional. But that's an interesting one too, because I haven't been asked that. However, I have been referred by some of my amazing clients, and I always take that as the highest compliment.
Absolutely. And I would want somebody, and maybe after reading this question, it's something that I'm going to implement with my service so they don't have to ask. I can just provide because this is your largest investment. Whether you're selling or purchasing, it's a big purchase or sale, and you want to know how that person or your real estate agent has performed and how they've actually
Absolutely.
had your back through the whole process. So that's a great question. And that's great for people to actually hear and to start asking when they are thinking about buying or selling.
Yeah, that one's a really good one.
Mhm.
Now, third question here. What is your listings average days on market? This is a great question to ask a listing agent, and it is something that our team always goes through when we're doing a listing presentation. It's really important to know how the person that you're choosing to trust to sell your home, how quickly they're able to get that home through the
Mhm.
whole sales process.
Yeah. And to know what the average days are because every market's different. For instance, this one, we're
Absolutely.
holding off offers for 4 or 5 days and typically they sell. Now we are seeing a little bit of a shift in the market too. So having conversations like that when you're just about to list your home and to know what the average days are, especially if we are going through a little bit of a shift, really brings awareness to your expectations.
Absolutely. That's a really good question as well, because again, like we always address it, but just on the off chance somebody doesn't, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Now, going hand in hand with this, what is your list to price ratio? So that's another really good one. And again, we always go through that in our listing presentation because our team list to sales price ratio is statistically higher than the average. But great question just to know that your professional is pricing the home appropriately and not over or underpricing it just to kind of see those statistics inflated.
And also educating you as the seller with the appropriate comparables so you can come up with the price yourself and not have us dictate, but have us work together to figure out the appropriate price for your home.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Mhm.
So
The
have
fifth
you
question.
hold, yeah.
This one's interesting. What do you think? Have you sold homes in this neighborhood?
So this one is interesting to me as well. I think that this is not necessarily a question that should be a deal breaker because a real estate professional is going to look at the market that they're in and they're going to do all of their research on the comparables. So yes, markets do vary and neighborhoods do vary. However, that doesn't mean that, a professional can't do their job in any market.
Right. As long as you're educated. And it depends
Mhm.
on, I really think it depends on what your business is like. We are on a team. We have a larger reach because of that. We have not only your database, my database, but our whole teams, so we can reach more people, and the admin staff that we have behind us to market the property properly. And if it's a neighborhood that we are not necessarily familiar with, to do the appropriate research to market it properly.
Absolutely. So I don't think that would ever or should ever be a deal breaker. If you've got, a great team or a great agent, that shouldn't be the hinge that your decision is made on.
Because they don't work in this neighborhood. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I would travel to Oakville to see a great surgeon. So why would I not
abs-
hire a realtor who's wonderful from Oakville? You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. Great point. Have you sold homes in this price range? So again, I think that's similar to the neighborhood. Like, I mean, I can speak for our team, but we do everything from leases to $1 million plus homes in the same week,
Yeah, price doesn't matter.
So
Negotiation
no,
skills matter, and strategy in
absolutely.
your offer matters. Mhm.
Yes, and a $1.7 million home is still a home to somebody. A $200,000 home is still somebody's home. You want the best representation. Doesn't necessarily mean that price is again what that should hinge on.
Exactly. So, how long have you been a real estate agent? What do you think about this question?
Well, I'm a little bit newer myself, so that one got my backup. I'm kidding. I don't think, and I mean, I can speak specifically to our team, but again, I don't think that this is necessarily the biggest thing. It's how educated you are and the support somebody has behind you. Like I know when I was doing my first deals, I called on half of our team to ask questions, but I wasn't going to lunge forward with the wrong answer. I was going to make sure I was doing all of my research and finding out everything I needed to know before I was jumping in and making a decision or doing something. So I think that the education and the support are more important than necessarily a new agent.
Right, because you could be in the business for 30 years and sell one home a year, or you could be in the
Yeah,
business for 12 months and sell 40. So it's not about
absolutely.
the time, it's the effort that you put into it, right? Yeah. Are you a
For sure.
part-time or full-time agent? That kind of rolls into what I just touched on there, right? So
Absolutely.
what do you think about that? The answer
So
on this article says to be more cautious of an agent that is part-time. Selling your home needs to be a full-time job and they should be focused. That's what
I
the
would
article
tend
said.
to agree with that. And I mean, we both know that our agents on our team are full time. Like we all have this is our 100%,
Hmm.
everything to us. So we're focusing entirely on representing our clients to the highest degree. And I do think that being a part time agent, it's harder to do that. So if you're listing a home or representing a buyer, if you're trying to schedule that around another job or while only doing it part-time, it does make it a little bit more challenging. And I would argue probably especially so in this market, Shannon, like with houses flying as quickly as they are, you kind of need speed to get into that house to
Right.
show your buyers.
Right. And I definitely think it's dependent on what type of job, other job your realtor has. Because if it's
Hmm.
something where they're easily accessible to you, okay, like I'm not going to knock anybody in this business. If you do what you want to do,
Absolutely.
right? So I think it depends on what type of other job you have. I know me personally, if I was selling my house and I wanted to get in touch with my realtor, I wouldn't have to want to wait till their afternoon break to when they're allowed to get on the phone. I want that person accessible to me or someone within their team accessible to answer my questions. So I think it's about if you have another job, if that's the avenue you choose to take, just to make sure that your business, well, you're not be able to be present in the realtor business, in the real estate business, to have someone covering for you because your clients still need you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that, part-time doesn't always mean the same thing, but it's important to kind of discuss what that means to that particular agent.
Right.
So how many sellers are you currently representing? This one's interesting. What do you think about that, Shannon?
Well, we touched on this before we actually started recording because we find this interesting because I feel like there is I don't know what the right answer is. Like would I want to work with someone who has 50 clients and be like, "Oh no, you're way too busy, but you're probably really good at your job," or do I want to work with someone who only has one? I don't think that that matters. I think that as long as you are giving your attention that you require, as long as you're getting that and you're getting your answers and your realtor is working their butt off for you, regardless if you're their only client or there are 100, it does not matter.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think going along with that, if you're working with somebody who's on a team, they're able to juggle a lot because I mean, I look at our team and our amazing admin staff
Mhm.
handles a lot of that stuff for us so that we're able to put our focus on our clients, number one.
Right. What
So
question?
what's the ratio? Oh, this is a good one. What's the ratio between buyers and sellers you represent?
This is an interesting one for our team. If people aren't familiar with it, we are actually divided between listing agents and buyers. You're a listing agent. I work solely with buyers. So we like to keep things separate like that. For many reasons. When you're listing homes, you're solely focused on that, as you should be, right? It's someone's largest investment, and you want to make sure you get the best return on that investment. So
Absolutely.
if you're selling 123 Main Street, and that owners of 123 Main Street are looking for a house as well, you're going to be off showing them properties, but action's still happening at their home. So who's there looking after it, right? So
Yes.
that's why we're divided. And we're also divided because we don't want to double end any property. Say you list 123 Main Street and then a prospective buyer comes in, and then you're representing that prospective buyer on the sale and you're representing the seller. Where does that loyalty lie? You want to give both clients the undivided attention they deserve and care that they deserve. So that's why we separate it. So that's why this question to me is so interesting, because I feel so passionate about it. I feel like it should be
Yeah.
like this across the board, personally.
Yes, and I completely agree. I mean, it's a big part of the reason that I joined the team. I love the way that we're able to do that because I want to be able to always look out for my client's best interest. And how do I do that when I'm looking out for the best interests of both clients in the transaction?
Right.
So that one's an interesting one. And I do think that's a valid question to ask somebody just to know, kind of how they're representing you.
Right. Exactly.
So
Which
we've
brings
touched
us
on
to
this
the
one.
next
Yeah.
question. Well, I'm working with you or directly with the team? The answer in this one is that it's frustrating when you get comfortable with an agent, but then you are introduced to someone else on the team. And I could argue that, and like I get it. We have clients who solely want to interact with us because they're comfortable with us. However, they do meet people on the team and realize that we're all like-minded individuals. And
Yeah.
if I have prior commitments, say my client saw a house at 9 a.m. that just hit the market and they want to see it that same day, but I'm booked already. I have so many other wonderful people on my team that I can call on to show that property to them, which is amazing because it's putting the client's best interest first. So I don't think it is frustrating for me to have other people on a team help out during a transaction.
And I think to go along with that as well, like that's a really good point. And I think it does allow us to provide our clients the number one, like the best service possible. But with our team, it's not somebody new at every meeting. We're also, so if I have somebody that's looking to buy a home and, I call you, Shannon, we'd have a meeting together to
Mhm.
introduce, but then they know me and they can always call me, but
Right.
then they know that you're looking out for them. And if I were buying a house, I'd want somebody who specializes in representing buyers rather than somebody who specializes in listing.
Right. Exactly. This next one, how do you plan to market the home? Every realtor should have a plan. And honestly, Kristin, I don't think we should give away our plan. We have plans, right? So if you want to know about it, you book a home evaluation with us, or else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the first things we'll go through at any listing appointment, because we do, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours as well, we do an excellent job with marketing homes. And that's
Right.
definitely one of the secrets that we'll keep to ourselves in this one.
Exactly.
But knowing that they have a plan to market the home, absolutely, that's very important.
Yeah, you never want to have an agent come to your home to list your home and not have a plan, because if there's nothing to follow, there's no guidelines, there's no structure,
Yeah.
what's going to happen along the way?
We don't want you to stick a sign in the lawn and just pray that somebody walks by and sees it. It should be proactively marketed out.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Do you have XYZ in your network? Well, this one, absolutely. I mean, any seasoned realtor is going to have referrals in their network. And we're always happy to refer you to the best in the business, no matter what your needs are.
Yeah,
I think
and we
that's
have like it's more than just lawyer or home inspector. We have all our vendors who we've used over the years: plumbers, contractors, flooring, anything that you need. Um, and that's something that we don't just keep tight for our clients. If anybody needs anything
absolutely.
from us, even if you're not buying or selling, you just reach out, because we're here to help. And we only recommend people that are we've used personally or our clients have used, and so they come highly recommended. So anybody out there who needs anything, let us know.
Absolutely. Anytime. How do your realtor fees work? So this is something we always go over in our initial, buyer or listing appointment. We always, because this is really important for whether you're buying a house or whether you're listing a house, to understand how the person representing you is getting paid. So I think that's a great question to ask. I think
Yes.
that's always something important.
And a lot of people don't know, when you're buying a home, you don't pay commission. The commission comes from the seller. So,
You got somebody working for you for free. It's the
right?
best thing out there. It's
Yes.
incredible.
What's
Um,
next?
can you explain the home selling process from start to finish? This is absolutely something your realtor should be able to do and should be doing for you right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I feel as though that's something that should maybe come unprompted from a realtor, but it's a great question if your realtor has not started explaining that to you.
100%. And you really need to understand who your clients are. Are they first time home buyers? Are they seasoned in this real estate world? Or have they not sold a home in 30 plus years? The market's completely different from the last time they did. So you really need to understand and learn what information they need to hear. And I am pro the more information, the better. I'll keep telling you until you tell me to stop, because I want to make sure that you understand everything, right? So,
Absolutely. Over communication is key in that regard,
right.
I think. And what's the best way to contact you? Well, we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but anyway, should be the best way to contact. I mean, phone call, text, email. Your realtor should not be out of touch, but I think it's also important for a realtor to ask that of their client. So it's always best for us to ask our clients how they would prefer to be contacted, because some may prefer email, some text, and some good old pick up the phone and call.
That's exactly right. There's some people that only want to text because they're busy working all the time, right? But they
Yeah,
want to hear from you. So you do that. And then there's some people that are hate text and love talking on the phone. So you really need to understand what the best ways to communicate. So you're both on the same page.
for sure. Can I see a written comparative market analysis? How do you feel about this, Shannon?
I think it's information that everybody should have. So of course you can see
Absolutely.
it, right? So you need to understand your market. You need to understand where your home lies in terms of market price, because I am so guilty for this. I'm like, my home is worth like $3 million, right? It's not, of course, but I love my home, and I've raised my children here, so I have a lot of ties to it. So it's really good to see it in black and white on paper where your home actually fits within your neighborhood.
It's important to see it as a house in the neighborhood rather than the home that you have that emotional tie to.
Right. What price will sell this house? Oh, this is a good question.
Absolutely. This one is a really good question. I think you want to always know that. I think it's important for the listing agent to come to that with the seller. And I think it's always important for the seller to see hand in hand the written CMA, so that they're able to see where their house fits in with other things that are selling in their neighborhood.
Right. The thing that I find the most interesting about this question is, what price will sell my house?
Yes,
Okay, so nobody has a crystal ball. We can
I
only go
wish.
by, right? I wish I could tell everybody your house is going to sell in 4 days for 100,000 over asking. Who knows? Like, we can only go by what's happening in the market in the moment, and that moment can shift at any time. But we just have to make sure that we're prepared for every outcome, and we price the home appropriately to begin with, so it's not lagging behind others when it should be priced
Yeah.
higher, and it's not overpriced where people aren't even going to look at it, right? So it's coming to a price together with the CMA and understanding that um, we don't make the market, we just interpret it.
Absolutely. And understanding the psychology of a buyer when a buyer is looking at pricing is another really important
Mhm.
factor. And that's something that our team is fairly educated in. And I do think that, it is hard to separate the emotion from it, but trusting your realtor to show you the comparables that are going to be the most valid toward your home or compared to your home is really important there as well.
Right, because our end goal is your end goal. Our job is to get you there and to be honest with you with the price. Some people, when we go in, and you'll agree with this, we go in for appointments and they think that their home is actually worth a lot less than we actually think it's worth and what the market's telling us, and vice versa. So you just have to
Mhm.
be able to trust that we're going to tell you honestly for your best interest to get you to your ultimate goal.
Absolutely. So, what do you believe will sell this home? I think this is important when you trust your realtor, and you should trust your realtor. I think it's important to listen to their advice in terms of little things. Like if we're not going to recommend painting your house if we don't think it's going to make a difference, and same with removing family photos. If we think that it's going to help, sell your home, I think it's important to trust those kind of things, as we've seen it time and time again.
Hmm. And at the end of the day, it's their discretion what they want to do. However,
Absolutely.
you're completely right. We want to showcase your home in the best way to get you the best price.
Absolutely. How can we best work together to sell this house?
I think we've touched on that throughout the questions, figuring out the right way to communicate with each other, coming up with the price together, showing you our marketing systems, our plans for selling your property, all of that, just to make sure there's an open line of communication. The moment that there's not, the moment where you hold back and don't tell your agent something that you're feeling, it can unravel quickly. You have to have an open line of communication because you have to be on the same page throughout the whole process.
Yes. And I mean, I wish I was a mind reader because it would make my parenting life so much easier. But I always tell my kids, I can't guess what you're thinking. And the same goes if we're representing you. We would love to be able to guess what you're thinking. But if you have something, we're not going to be offended. Just tell
Yes,
us. It's so much easier
yes.
just to have that.
And especially goes back to how you prefer to be communicated with. If you prefer to communicate via text, we have to be aware that it can be interpreted other ways. So if it's a significant conversation about pricing of your home, anything, something that you feel so strongly about, I do recommend a face-to-face or over the phone conversation because we need to work together. And if we're not
Yeah.
understanding each other properly, it's going to unravel.
Keeps that, nuance out of it, or sorry, puts that nuance into it when you're having a face-to-face or phone conversation. And, tonality is so important in something
Right.
like that.
What can I do to get this house ready for showings?
Actually, funny enough, did a Instagram video about this yesterday, where I was starting to talk about this, but this is really important to ask your realtor. And again, I think it's important for a realtor to go over with their client just to set expectations, because there are some really simple things like decluttering the house. Sometimes a nice fresh paint job makes it feel really clean and bright and kind of new again. But in terms of like the day of getting ready for showings, I think it's always important to be set up properly and to have good expectations about what you should do anytime you have a showing.
Mhm. That's completely right. And because I work solely with buyers, I do a ton of showings, and I have to tell you, I see it all the time, and it gets under my skin. Tell your clients to remove their valuables. Don't leave your laptop out or your ring that your husband bought you 5 years ago. Like, I come in with my clients and I walk around, but I never want to put anybody in a position where they think someone took something of theirs. And if it's your valuable, put it away.
Yes, that's a really great point too.
Mhm.
In terms of sellers, absolutely.
Yeah, especially in the day when we were allowed to do open houses. Sometimes you'd have a couple groups in at a time and you try to keep your eyes on everybody and you're trusting of people, but you just gotta
Yes. Well, I mean, we have kids, Shannon, both of us, and we know that if you bring a kid to an open house, you don't want to run the risk that your kid's going to bump into, like an
Valuable,
expensive vase or something that could be breakable. So that's really, I think, important as
right?
well.
Mhm. Do I need a professional stager for my home?
Great question. Because sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes we'll say, that will bring value. And sometimes you walk into a house and think, oh my gosh, are you a professional stager?
Mhm.
So that is for sure. And that's a question that I've heard a lot, oh, do you think we would benefit from staging? And it depends on the market as well, too, I would argue.
Absolutely. What should I already be packing up? Well, I think that we just touched on it. Your valuables, pack those up. I get this a lot, and I'm sure you do too. People with young children, you live in the house, they're going to have their toys everywhere, right?
Yes.
I say for the photos, take the toys away, and then put them back after. Your kids have to live there. That's okay. Just reduce the clutter as much as possible.
That's it. Get a couple nice storage bins, and before you have showings, get all those toys into the storage bin rather than lying around the house. And if there are some that you can put into storage for the short time that it's taking your house to sell, hopefully with our team anyway, and
Right?
get them into storage for a short time. But like you said, kids are living there. You can't just be like, sorry guys, no toys for the next few weeks, right?
Yeah.
What are the closing costs? This is especially important when you have first time home buyers. And I think it's a great point to educate your clients on what to expect because I mean, I'm sure we've all run into it where our clients are really excited and they're like, "Yeah, I have a down payment ready." And they are prepared to spend that entire down payment on their down payment, not thinking of any closing costs in addition to that.
Right. Exactly. That's a great question. And that's something like when I recommend referrals like a lawyer or whatever, I give them a couple. We work with some fantastic ones.
Yes,
And I always give both of their names. Um, Natalie Procaro and Ryan Carson, that's who they are. But they're fabulous if anybody needs a lawyer. But call them, ask them those questions. Be prepared with what their fees are and make sure that you're okay with them. And there's no problem doing your research up front so you know what you're prepared for. And also talk to your lender. You don't want to get pre-approved and
absolutely.
buy a house and then go buy a car. Don't do that, right? And but if people don't know, they don't know. So you have to
Yeah.
educate yourself.
And that's the thing, like we can educate the clients to the best of our ability, but at the end of the day, we're not accountants and we're not lawyers. So there will be things that will be a question that will be redirected to one of those professionals
Right.
instead. And it's always a fantastic idea to ask your realtor for referrals to those people so you can make sure you have the absolute best answer for those questions. Because Shannon, you or I would always preface it with, I'm not a professional in that, but I can refer you to the person who can answer that question for
Make
you.
your answers. Yes. I think that's all of our questions. And I think that
Yeah,
this article brought up a lot of things that you and I didn't even think about. And it makes me think that there's probably a whole ton of other questions that people out there that are thinking of buying a home or selling a home may have. And I want them to know that our team, and especially Kristin and I, ask us anything. We're here to help.
absolutely.
Don't expect anything in return, but we just want to make sure when people are going to enter the real estate market or sell that they're completely comfortable. So,
Yeah,
um,
we want to arm you with the best information possible so that you can make the best decision for your family. So if you do have any questions, you can always comment on this video, reach out to Shannon or myself or anyone on our team because we're all passionate about what we do. And we are always here to help.
exactly. Well, thanks for the little chat this morning. It was
Yeah,
nice.
thanks for the coffee. That was nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, you have a great day.
You too, Shannon. See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.